If you would like to get your song reviewed, dear listener, there's the filthy capitalist option. As Sori says, $125 gets you straight to the head of the line. You don't have to be a part of the alliance. You don't have to be part of the group.
Wait a minute.
And the biggest thing is you don't have to wait. You hop, skip, and jump right in front of everybody. $125 gets you there. You do that 3 times, and you get mashed down to the $75 rate for perpetuity.
Yes!
Also, there is a band review option. So if you've got a band and you're trying to get your band some exposure, hit me up at itsori@gmail.com, and I'll show you the details about how to pull that off.
You can also jump on Patreon, and there is a option on the tiers to be able to get your band reviewed. Yep. Obviously, we can't lie to you, so we can't guarantee a positive review. Get what you get.
It's just rubbish.
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 That's British for garbage.
My favorite is a community option. $1 at the gate gets you in a Patreon. You get to join an alliance. The alliance joins their points together, and that helps determine what songs that we do.
The alliances hang out on Discord.
Message me on Patreon to get the link.
And they do all kinds of other cool things. They do Minecraft, Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah. It's really a community within the community. Anybody can go in the village, facebook.com/Sori. There's 160,000+ people on the channel. What's cool about the Discord is that it offers a real opportunity for community connection, friendship, that type of thing.
And it's on Discord, so if you're not a Facebook person, it's for you.
You start off at $1.
Right.
Plus you get exclusives. Sori and I are working on a song. So the first 15 seconds of that was on Patreon. Also, at $15 tier and above, when we actually debut the video, they're going to be there live with us. There you are, dear listener.
I'll take care of it.
It's okay.
Buy our merch indeed!
Yes! Hello, everyone!
Hello!
Look, Larry, were you the first commenter?
I think, yeah, Larry was the first. What's up, Larry? Shout out to brother Larry. Shout out to Beef Tractor, which is a very strange name to have. I'm not gonna lie, it's a weird name, bro. Beef Tractor.
You know, honestly, when you said beef, I actually felt a little hungry. But when you said tractor, then I just got completely grossed out.
Okay. We got Shell in the house. Shelly.
All right, did you already do the intro?
No. This song is brought to you by the big homie, this is the big homie Gabe.
Yep.
Shout out to Jorge Rodriguez. This is for the big homie Gabe. This is Acid Bath. The name of the song is Dr. Seuss is Dead. That's the name of the song.
The funny thing is, I was saying the funny thing because I was actually thinking about what I'm going to do for the thumbnail and I came up with an idea. But anyway, he said, for my April request, I found a live performance of a song I thought I'd never have available for review. And one that is of pretty good quality, fortunately. This is going to be so fucking cool. So here we are to review for Gabe, and I hope that we like it as much as you think we're going to.
Inshallah. You got the lyrics? You got the, because this is a live performance, so we're not going to. Shout out to Josie. We got a live performance. So here we go, guys. This is Acid Bath. Dr. Seuss has perished, or Dr. Seuss is dead, as it were. You got the lyrics? Yep. Okay, let's do it.
I'm sorry about the fucking bullshit. Fuck all this bullshit. The last song.
Thank you, Matt Brady. They're really enjoying the music. What is wrong with this crowd?
I don't know. They're horrible. The crowd.
Even the mosh pit is weak. What are y'all doing?
What? There we go. 3 people.
How are you not moving?
I don't know. That's unbelievable
right now, bro. Boo to the...
Come to the stage next.
Boo to that crowd.
This must have been like when they just came out or something like that, because that crowd was completely... That was one of those times when the crowd did not deserve the band.
No, they didn't. And
That's how I feel.
They didn't deserve to be on camera either. They should have just zoomed in on the band, because honestly, that crowd was like... I don't know. I had to ignore the crowd and focus on the band, because it kind of can like influence you as far as what the band is. And I'm like, no. This is a problem with the people, not the band. So I'm ignoring them, and I'm going to focus on the band. They were getting right into it. They were doing the windmills with their hair.
Yeah, they
were good.
But see, that's how you know it's real and they're not just performing.
Right.
Because it's like, look, man, this shit is heavy. I love what I'm doing.
Yep.
So you guys don't like it, that's okay. I'm going to still rock because I love our music. And like, when I love seeing bands when there's some adversity, like like that Sarah Longfield, I think her name was. Remember we went to see Neo?
Yeah.
So
all I remember was her little hands were cold.
She's a guitarist, and like she's a featured guitarist. It's all like instrumentals.
She had like a bunch of strings. Like, wasn't it like a ridiculously big thing? Or, it was like something different about her instrument.
She's got a signature style guitar or whatnot. But there were some issues with the sound guy, and you could tell, like, she was, because we were literally like
right there,
feet away from her, and like she was trying to work, like, like giving nods and stuff to the
she did.
But and the guy, I don't know if he was incompetent, whatever. It just wasn't working. So she improvised and made it work. Like I love, or the Eddie Vedder one where they were booing him. He was talking about Bush and all that.
Yep.
I love that shit, man, because it's like, okay, like
100%.
That's how you know the person's 100% dedicated to the music.
Yep.
Like we're gonna, try our hand at a live show. I've got like 4 songs in my head. One of them's almost done, like finished, and like. I love our shit. You know what I'm saying? And like whether or not people, because it'll be the first time a lot of them actually hear, what we're going to be doing. And
it really depends on where we go too, because if you go to some spots, like somebody put in the comment section, like these people expected jazz and were too nice to leave. I think that our song would not fit in certain rooms. And if you landed in that room, people would be like,
right.
Clutch your pearls and bring your children close.
Right. So like that's how, that's metal, man. That's like really metal. You're able to do that. And show business is a really, really, really brutal sport, man. Yeah. Those people are brutal, and it kind of like they, when you see American Idol and things like that, like it almost becomes like a joke, like, haha, you suck or whatever. But that's really how it is. Like it's ruthless. So you got to be a special kind of person that can deal with that nonsense. But holy moly, that look, see, Josie's band is playing at the Cage, so we gotta get up on there and go for it, man. Like, I'm really like, I really want to. So, okay, so lyrically, I was distracted by the horrible crowd.
I didn't actually see the lyrics. Dr. Seuss is dead. We await life. Dr. Seuss is dead. Wait, when did the song come out? Does this have to do?
94.
Oh, this is 94?
Yeah.
That's so interesting because the whole Dr. Seuss thing that came out because the racist stuff he had in there.
Yeah.
So I thought that it was in response to that. But
yeah, he died in 91.
Oh, like he's literally talking about the death of him.
Well, yeah. I mean, look, Dr. Seuss was a man of his time. Right? Like, we did a little clip on it in Middle America. I don't know if I even released that video, but Dr. Seuss was a man of his time. He was pro, Japanese internment and all this other stuff. So, like, I get it. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. But I don't think that's Acid Bath's concern here. A cloud of flies obscures the sun. A stone is dropped, a dream undone. Ripples grow and ride the tide. The dead things crawl from deep inside.
That's gross. So gross.
With its dying sour breath, the burning smell of insect flesh, hungry things in circles crowd around TVs turned up too loud. Even the rhyme scream is kind of Seussian, right?
Well, it's
you know what I mean?
Exactly. Like, you mean by that
Dr.
phrase?
Seuss.
You mean it's like Dr. Seuss? Yeah, I agree. But it's like the opposite because Dr. Seuss was like happy, and this one's like
right. Right.
Children, come around. Let's read this before bed.
Yeah.
Sleep well.
Seuss was like joyously sending those Japanese into the internment camps, like, and I mean it. He was a good dude. Okay, so Dr. Seuss.
Oh my gosh.
What do you got? What happened?
Well, just what gets said next. With its dying sour breath, the burning smell of insect flesh, hungry things in circles crowd around TVs turned up too loud. Then it says, we are the dead next door turned up too loud. Where the dirty needles shine and litter the floor, it's too fucking loud. Taste the light, inject the Lord. It's too loud.
That's a brilliant line. Holy moly. Taste the light, inject the Lord.
Yeah.
Woo!
I cut myself again because I'm so bored. It's too loud. We are the dead next door. Jeez.
So he's saying the TV's up too loud. So the hungry things are regular people and they're all crowded around the TV. Taste the light and Jack. It's too loud. I caught myself again.
It kind of sounds like, you know how there would be those spots, you know, when we were working downtown, there would be like an apartment that was like the hangout spot, but it was not a safe hangout spot. It was where you were going if you wanted drugs. And so they'd all hang out together in like apartments and just get high, and people would die. And that's what it reminds me of.
Yeah. I mean, like gutter. I mean, the Dream Sea has been poisoned.
Dream Sea?
The Dream Sea.
Where?
Or like the Sea of Dreams.
Wow. Yeah, has been poisoned.
Stoplight flashes me red. Innocent suffocated in its sleep. Oh. Dr. Seuss is dead. The Dream Sea has been poisoned. Stoplight flashes me red. Innocent suffocated in its sleep. Dr. Seuss is dead. So I don't know if like he loved Dr. Seuss and the death of Dr. Seuss triggered that transitional moment for him where he's like, okay, I'm not a kid anymore.
That's what I thought it was. I thought it was the death of, like, I thought it was kind of like the recognition, like, you know how there's not, like, you don't know the moment from when you're not a kid anymore? Like, there's a moment, and you don't know what it is. Like, you said that thing before where it was like, there was one time that was the last time you would ever play with your friends, and no one knew when that time was.
None of you knew it, yeah.
Right, and there was, you know, we were all hanging out, well, not we were all, I was hanging out back with some of the kids in the neighborhood, which I love to do, and we were hanging out on the hill, and they were playing music and stuff, and I was just enjoying the moment, and then I ended up finding out that one of the kids was going to be moving really soon, which made me sad because I enjoy being around her and stuff, and I was thinking, the way that life goes, especially for us, stuff is so busy that, you know, she'll be moving in 2 weeks. So more than likely, I'm not going to probably have that experience again. And so when I was out on that back hill and it was that moment, like I felt it was a moment, but I didn't know why. And then obviously I found out that she was going to be moving. So that was sad. So I wasn't sure if that was like what was happening here, where you have your memories of when you were a kid, and then as you grow up and if he made, you know, bad choices that kind of led him to where he was in that room where there was just drugs. And, you know, when you see these apartments where people are, sometimes it's very painful to see people in that situation, because especially if you have a Christian worldview where we think, you know, every single person is created with glory and honor because they were made by God. And so then when you see them, like they're in trash a lot of times, like trash all over the place. They're just, and they don't even realize how horrific their situation is or how dark it is because they're like somewhere else with their, but at the same time, I think, you know, when they're coming down, they must realize it and you know, you were made for more than that. I was listening to something on Stoicism last night, and I can't tell you who. I'm not good with that. But anyway, the guy was saying that I just got distracted. It's gone now. That a lot of time there was this, it was like a Caesar or somebody that was really important. I don't remember the name. Vinny would be able to tell you if he had watched it, but he didn't technically have to get out of bed in the morning, but he would tell himself, like, more or less, I wasn't created to just lounge in a bed. I was created for something more than that. So he would get out of bed to accomplish what it was that he was made for, because he wasn't made to just hide under the sheets. And so I think lots of us kind of have to face that moment in the morning where you don't want to get up. Once you get up and you start getting motivated and showered and you start going, you're good. But before you get there, it's kind of, you know, I don't know how I was going to tie that in. I'm a little distracted, I think.
Drugs? The drugs, the needles? People were meant to live more than that?
Yeah, more than what's in that room. And I think that there's times where they probably recognize...
Was it Marcus Aurelius?
Actually, I think it was. Who said that?
That was Perkinos.
Perkinos. Why are you so smart? It's like a Vinny 2.0. Not as good as Vin, but very knowledgeable. Anyway, so yeah, that kind of recognition that you were more than that, but maybe you don't know what it is. But with him, I didn't know if he was like in those sort of moments, thinking back to your childhood. And Dr. Seuss, I think, was for a lot of people like a happy sort of moment. There was the rhymes and the fun sound of the rhymes. Well, some of the stuff you didn't even know what you were talking about.
He always had a little moral.
Yep.
You know, it was
and there was these silly characters and
yeah, it was it was cool, man. Like, you know, he had a nice little moral to it, and everybody, you know, by the time I was interfacing with Dr. Seuss, you know, he had matured past all the other shit, you know, so it was like a person's a person no matter how small, Cat in the Hat, you know, listening to their parents and all that shit.
Well, that shows that he hit a point of repentance, though.
Yeah, and I remember the teacher saying, like, all right, kids, now don't let anybody come into your house when your parents aren't there, because the Cat in the Hat showed up.
Oh, that's right!
And I remember being like, okay, if some cat motherfucker shows up to the door, I know Miss Moulton just told me not to open the door for that nigga.
Oh!
But I was like... I was like, holy shit, man, if that guy shows up to my place, hell yeah, I want to do that shit. Come on in, Nick.
You know what's so funny?
But like Miss Moulton was like, no, don't do that.
I didn't even realize that was the theme or the moral of that story. The only thing that I focused on, I couldn't believe how bad the cat was and that the kids didn't stop him because we had to be very clean. And so...
Sorry, can you just read something real quick? Amy Lee forever.
She said, no one is on Sori's level. We all strive to achieve her greatness.
Okay, well, you guys can all see. It literally says right there.
Don't look. We're talking about something here.
Vin's level right there.
She made a typo. She's tired or something. Anyway, so she's clearly a liar. We don't have Amy Lee forever in the comment section.
Shout out to Tina. Hell yeah, we've been friends with Amy Lee. What you talking about?
No, it's not the real Amy Lee, so...
No,
it's a poser.
The real Amy Lee is a poser for this person.
Oh, well played. Anyway, so for me, I think because of how I am, like, I've never been diagnosed or anything, but I probably have some OCD. And so when they cleaned up at the end, that was my focus. I loved watching everything go back into place and looking perfectly good before the parents walked in.
Yeah, not a surprise. Not a surprise.
Yeah. I read the whole thing behavior. Just for that cleanup.
Yeah, so I don't know if it's like, it looks a little like loss of innocence type of thing, right? A stone is dropped, a dream undone. You know, it's really interesting. Like when I think about like lyrically, we've done like 2 or 3 songs from this band, and the lyrics are always, you know, horrible, horrific, whatever you want to call them. But you know, we watch these, you know, like we've got a friend, it's called The Misery Machine. If you're into true crime, The Misery Machine is some of the best true crime stuff that's out there. And we know the person. We're actually going to be doing an interview because unfortunately I was involved in a true crime situation. And so they're going to be covering that. So that's actually coming pretty soon here. It's The Misery Machine. They've got a website out now. You should check them out. But like all these people that do these horrible things, like we never think at one time that dude, you know, John Wayne Gacy or whatever, like was a 5-year-old kid reading Dr. Seuss.
Oh, I know.
Like you never think about that.
I do,
you know
all the time.
Well, yeah, you do because you've got a very interesting mind. But, you know, most people, they'll say things like, oh, so-and-so is a monster. And, of course, they're monsters, like monstrous. There are, like, legitimate demons and monsters in the world, for sure. But at some point, you know, especially in the western side of the planet, there were a 5-year-old cute kid.
I know.
Reading
for a toy.
Reading Dr. Seuss. Mm-hmm. You know, with Kool-Aid stains on their lips and stuff. Like,
yeah.
And so it's a very, I don't want to say... I think it's, I actually do. No, I do think it's a bit sad, honestly.
Of course it's sad.
You know, what happens to people and the loss of innocence that happens and what it turns people into. And obviously there's a line where it's like, okay, you did X, Y, and Z thing, so you have got to be accountable for your own actions, right?
Yeah.
So I understand that. But at the same time, it's like, man, holy moly.
Yeah.
People are, you know, and then this is Blake X's nuclear reactions. I'm going to do this more. I'm going to feature people's pages. So there's Blake X nuclear reactions.
That's the $15 tier.
Yep.
That you can jump on Patreon, and once it clears 1 month, you just send us the information that you want us to advertise, and you get like a 15-second clip in our video for us to advertise whatever. It doesn't have to be just your YouTube channel. It could be, I mean, your you're selling yarn balls. It doesn't really matter. Whatever it is,
Yeah.
we can, unless it's porn, in which case, no. You can take your money back.
Yeah. Okay, so there's Blake X, and here is the Misery Machine. This is what I was talking to you about. I am going to be on this channel, and if you are a true crime person, you can subscribe there because her page is pretty awesome. But so that's what the song was doing with me when I was listening to it. I was thinking about all the, because, you know, myself and my family members have dealt with some, we've seen the worst that human beings are capable of doing. Mm-hmm. I'll say it that way. And that also includes your own self. Mm-hmm. Because when you get put in situations with very bad people or people that you consider bad, you can then justify doing X, Y, and Z things. So
yeah,
I've really been confronted. You last, I don't know, 8 years of my life, you kind of end up face to face with the ugliness of humanity and of yourself. And at the same time, like I remember one time, like there was a guy, he was being observed, very horrible person, done very horrible things, and you see him with his family because you're observing him, and you see him with his family, and you see him hugging his son, and you see him picking up his daughter when she fell and she scraped her knee, and he he picked her up and swirled her around and kissed her knee and made sure she was good, and then he got in his little truck and he went off to do some evil shit. And it's just like,
wow.
Ah.
Yeah.
And it's this very weird kind of, and it's like to think that guy was some little, obviously they weren't watching Dr. Seuss, but whatever it is they watch, and he wasn't all, he's a past tense person now, but he wasn't all that.
Yep.
He was the other thing. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
And the chances of his son becoming what he was are extremely high. Mm-hmm. But I was able to see his son at 6 years old. You know what I'm saying? But if I run into that kid 12 years later, which now he'd be 12. You know what I'm saying? Like he'd probably want to kill me. So it's like,
yeah.
It's just really, really, really crazy, hard stuff to deal with human beings, man. And it's a tough thing where everybody runs into that situation where you run into that situation where things are, sometimes it's just too complicated, and you just go, well, he was a bad guy. Mm-hmm. And he was a bad guy, and I mean he deserved what he got, but I mean at the end of the day, if you would have just took that one little snapshot of that guy's life, you'd have been like, this guy's a great dad, very attentive to the kids. Like he's extremely attentive with his kids, but then he had that other side to him, and it's just crazy to me. Okay, good song though, very, 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 very good song. And there's Joe saying the same. Yeah, I mean it's tough stuff.
It was interesting because it was a live show. So I think that, first of all, it made me want to be at one of their shows. Do they even play anymore, or is this like a band that's not here anymore? So I'd love to see them live and be in that crowd. I'd be a very good person in your crowd because I would be enjoying your music, not standing there lazily. But you know what? Somebody in the comment section said they made, like, maybe this was early on in their career and they were opening for another band, so nobody really knew. But still, they were putting out such good energy. How can you not throw in with
That's
them?
what I'm saying. Like, the guitarist was rocking, the dude was jumping, all the rest of it. I'm like, man, you guys are corny,
okay,
bro.
Odd
that
thought.
crowd was corny. We saw Gojira.
Yep.
So I was only familiar with 2 of their songs. Mm-hmm. But you can still know when something is heavy and have fun and support the band. Holy moly.
Well, one thing that is just a random thought that I had right now about it is that I think that a lot of people that love bands would love to be in a band. And so I wonder how much of the like high standard that they expect a starter band to put out, like what they're expecting from them is it's coming from a little bit of a jealous spot because they're up there and they feel like they should be up there.
Yeah.
So you never know if there's some of that included in
100%.
there.
100%.
Which is not something I thought of before just now. I was like,
look, for this format, it's about judging the music and things like that. That is not the intention of a rock show.
Right.
The intention of a rock show is not to just get up there
dive into the music.
And, I'm going to judge this music.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, according to Mr. Dunn over here, Acid Bath is no more.
Oh.
They're a long defunct band.
Oh.
Sad stuff. Sad
that's
stuff.
probably why he said that he never thought we were going to get to react to that. Maybe somebody posted it recently.
So, like, they're a band that's not around anymore, and some corporate hack is making it so that nobody can
what?
You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah,
that's weird.
Okay. Anyway,
I loved the energy of the song. I mean, honestly, sonically, I don't know exactly what this song sounds like because it was live and it looked to be a bit early. But I do know the riffage and things like that and the energy of the show. It's a live show, and they were doing their thing in spite of a terrible crowd. So I'm going to give it a 9.2.
I was going to give it a 9.3.
So what do you give it?
9.3.
There you are, dear
Finally,
listener.
I rate something higher than you.
Been out.
Sori out.
Gone.
All right.
We're going to pick up the Motionless in white.
Okay. And you know what? Chad, are you still in the stream? Chad was here, and that's his song.
Was he?
Yeah. Chad, are you still here?
Even better.
Yeah.
Was he Beef Tractor?
No, it literally was Chad, and his last name is on there too.
Okay.
So, he actually. You want to just.
Where is he? Did he respond?
Well, I don't know.
Hey, brick in the house, brick in the house.
Okay, so it's these two.
Hey, Wheezy.
It's Motionless in white, and then
Imminence.
Yeah, Paralyzed, and that's the dates. So it was this date and this one. Chad, he's right there. Boop.
Yeah, boy. All right,
Okay.
Chad. All right, Chad. We weren't gonna do this, but since you're here, we're gonna double up on Chad's stuff. Okay, so the next song is gonna be Motionless in White.
I'm gonna grab an elastic.
And Sorai's gonna grab an elastic, so I'll sit here and talk to you beautiful people while Sori goes and does that. So, yeah, I resonate a lot with what Joe says. We separate others who commit terrible acts from ourselves by calling them monsters and such, but they're still human. Correct. Correct. That is human beings denying that they're capable of the same kind of evil that they're judging the other person from. We all do it. Like I understand why we do it because, I mean, I was listening to Peterson yesterday and he was talking about reconciling yourself with your shadow. Dealing with the reality that you have a shadow and you have the capability to inflict serious harm and chaos in the world, and you have to reconcile yourself to that part of yourself. And I think I think when you do that, you're a lot better at being able to control it, right? And it was a really fascinating 2-hour, it was actually a 4-hour breakdown of the Lion King and all the archetypes in the Lion King and, why, when Simba has his dramatic defeat of Scar, why the lions were all roaring and showing their teeth and all the rest of it. And it was really interesting because, Peterson was talking about that darkness and that capacity for violence and destruction. In that moment, they were reveling in it because that kind of energy was needed because Scar and the hyenas were gonna turn Pride Rock into a hellscape. And so you need that kind of energy in order to neutralize that kind of a threat. But if you say, well, if I bare my teeth and roar, Scar does that, and Scar is a bad guy, so I'm not going to bare my teeth and roar, then the only person baring their teeth and roaring is a bad guy. Which is eerily close to the whole, the only thing that stops a bad guy with a gun is a good guy with a gun thing, which I disagree with. But one of the things that he said was, if you project a certain type of energy, a lot of times it never gets to the point where people have to end up dying in the first place. And that's what I've found. I found with me a lot of times, like for example, if I'm walking with Sori somewhere, nobody says anything to her. The minute that I'm gone, people got stuff to say. Oh, you look like this, blah, 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 blah. But when I'm around her, nobody ever says that. So,
it's so true. When they said that, literally you just dumped your stuff in the cart and walked off.
Yeah.
Like seconds after you.
Yeah, they wait. Because for whatever reason, I project a certain kind of energy, and they don't know that I'm a pacifist or I'm trying to be one. So, yeah, I think that's, and the other thing that was really interesting, so I listened to that last night, and then today I was listening to Sheikh Omar Suleiman, and he was talking about how the first time that the Muslims did the tawaf, which is it's circumambulating the Kaaba, that they were instructed by Muhammad to pull down their shirt, expose their shoulder, and because there's this valley that they have to go down and up, and they were supposed to run the first 3 iterations of that. And the reason for that was because when they fled to Medina, the Meccans were saying, oh, Muhammad is weak and all of his people are weak. Because Medina was known for being, having swamps and people were sick, and Abu Bakr almost died. A couple people died from the trek. So what Muhammad?
Have to do that?
So what he was saying was what?
Did I miss why they have to show part of their shoulder?
Yeah, the reason is to display that they're strong. That
Why, you're showing their muscles?
Well, yeah, they're showing their muscles, and then they're running down and up this valley, which is a pretty arduous thing to do. So he was saying, do that 3 times, and the logic is show these people we're not weak people. Like we can get busy. So it was just very interesting listening to that back to back, because you have the Lion King, which is and he's analyzing the Lion King, and then you have the next thing in a real world situation where that happened. And every street person knows this, right? Like every street person knows that if you project a certain kind of weakness, you're going to get into more altercations actually than a guy who projects that he's good with violence. So if you project that you're good with violence, and the likelihood that violence is going to occur to you is actually smaller than a person who projects that they don't like violence.
Right.
So there's that.
Well, that's your passcode. If you want to get into the room when you're locked out of our bedroom, you're going to have to show me your muscle, and you may enter. Show me how strong you are.
Thank you, Delaney. I'm glad that we're streaming on everything, too.
No, they don't say bad things to me. They're saying, like, it's not bad, like, it's almost like they're kind of hitting on me when Vin is not there.
Yeah, they're not saying anything.
It's like that.
They're trying to hit on her and saying all types of weird shit. Like, yeah, it just doesn't happen when you're around me.
Right. And actually, it's funny because we're around each other so much that I thought that stuff didn't happen to me anymore. I was thinking, like, maybe I'm in, like, kind of like that, like, mom, grandma category, so nobody's going to say anything. But then you weren't there, and then it's been happening.
Yeah. Okay, we are going to the next song, ladies and gents. It is by a band called Motionless in White.
I can't wait.
And it's for my my good buddy Chad, who's actually in the house.
Chad, if you put a thing and say "What's up," we will pin your comment up in there so people will know who you are.
Oh yeah, Brick actually has a good point. I was going to say, what a privileged place a new pacifist holds. When it calls for it, chances are you'd be able to snap back into action mode. Yeah, for someone who's never raised a fist, it's different. You know, I was talking to a Christian because I did an actual moderated debate about pacifism, because a lot of Christian.
I'm just gonna get a tank top on.
Yeah. Can you get
A soda or something?
Is it Gatorade? Yeah,
I'll get it.
a lot of Christians have an issue with Jesus's pacifism, so I actually had to do an entire moderated debate about it. And I had a friend who, he was texting me back and forth, and he goes, "Well, yeah, you won that debate, but you know, Vin, if somebody does something to you or whatever, or somebody broke into your home, even if they had a weapon, you feel confident that you'd be able to still disarm that person, protect your family without killing them. But the rest of us are not like that. And so it's easy for you to say." Now, at the time, this individual had no idea, what I was doing at the time for work, because if he did, obviously, he'd be making a different argument. He'd be saying you're a raging hypocrite. But I think that's a valid point, and it's a blind spot that I have whenever I talk about pacifism in a Christian context. It's a blind spot because if I felt like I wouldn't be able to defend I'm not saying it like, oh, I'm going to pray and then my family would be okay. Like, that's not my issue. My issue is I feel like, I've been in situations where folks have been disarmed. So I feel confident about that, but yeah, it's not as easy if you're not a person who, is not inclined in that direction. Because the other side of it is I love that shit. I love it. I love violence. I love contact. I like bleeding and making people bleed. I mean, that's just, I've always been like that, So, but there's a lot of people who contact and violence and blood is like the worst thing in the world to them, and I'm telling them, don't fight back when somebody shows up and is using lethal force. Yeah, I have to concur. Like, it's easy for me to say, and it's a blind spot, and it's something when I talk about pacifism, I don't do a very good job of addressing, to be honest with you. Holy shit. Michelle is suspended from Twitter?
Why? What could you possibly have done?
That is insane.
All right, ready?
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, no, I didn't think you were talking shit. I thought it was a good point, and it was a point that Brian Walker again in his jihad. I am never going to ban Ben Webb, bro.
Brian, it's useless to ask him to.
That will never happen.
The only way he got banned was when Vin was gone and I was here.
Yeah.
Boop.
I am banned from Twitter. It's all right. I fuck with Ben Webb so heavy. It's so bad. All right. Here we go. Motionless and White, ladies and gents.
I'm sorry.
If you would like to get your song reviewed, dear listener, there's the filthy capitalist option. As Sori says, 125 gets you straight to the head of the line. You don't have to be a part of the alliance. You don't have to be part of the group.
Wait a minute.
And the biggest thing is you don't have to wait. You hop, skip, and jump right in front of everybody. 125 gets you there. You do that 3 times, and you get mashed down to the $75 rate for perpetuity.
Yes!
Also, there is a band review option. So if you've got a band and you're trying to get your band some exposure, hit me up at itsori@gmail.com, and I'll show you the details about how to pull that off.
You can also jump on Patreon, and there is a option on the tiers to be able to get your band reviewed. Yep. Obviously, we can't lie to you, so we can't guarantee a positive review. Get what you get.
It's just rubbish.
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 That's British for garbage.
My favorite is the community option. $1 at the gate gets you in at Patreon. You get to join an alliance. The alliance joins their points together, and that helps determine what songs that we do.
The alliances hang out on Discord.
Message me on Patreon to get the link.
And they do all kinds of other cool things. They do Minecraft.
What?
Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah. It's really a community within the community. Anybody can go in the village, facebook.com/Vin and Sori. There's 160,000+ people on the channel. What's cool about the Discord is that it offers a real opportunity for community connection, friendship, that type of thing.
And it's on Discord, so if you're not a Facebook person, it's for you.
You start off at $1.
Right.
Plus you get exclusives. Sori and I are working on a song. So the first 15 seconds of that was on Patreon. Also, at $15 tier and above, when we actually debut the video, they're going to be there live with us. There you are, dear listener.
Fire merch.
We've started.
Buy all merch!
Buy it indeed.
Speaking of merch, we got a cool idea.
We do. I think you guys are going to enjoy it. You're going to like it. Matter of fact, we're probably going to lose a bunch of money doing it because once Vin gets these ideas, takes off with them.
Oh, yeah, I think you're probably right.
I know.
Because remember we used to do it.
I know.
And then we lost.
You were like, hey.
Well, I wouldn't say we
throwing
lost.
underwear around.
I wouldn't say we lost anything. Like we bought a good feeling.
Yeah.
By giving stuff away.
Yes. You did. I was trying to go full time at that point. I'm like.
Yeah, you were. Is the idea Web Week? The idea. Anyway. We're not going to talk about Web Week. We're going to talk about Motionless in White because that is the band that we're going to be listening to.
Shout out to Chad.
Because Vin's buddy Chad DJ'd this for us. So this is for DJ Chad.
No, you can't do that.
Oh, that's right. This is not a DJ screen.
That is a no.
This is not a DJ screen. So,
yeah, you can put, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but don't make a big, DJ stream out of it. It's not a DJ stream.
I'm going to, so I don't know what you're saying.
Let's not.
Okay, guys, Motionless in White. Let's not listen to Sori. Let's not worry about her.
We should.
And having said that, guys, here we go. Here's the name of the song, Motionless in White, Eternally Yours. Let's go.
ready to bury all of my bones. I'm ready to lie but say I won't. So tell me a secret and join me in pieces. Rather than calling made of stones. I'm ready to beg to make amends. Let's sleep in this dirt we call our bed. So tell me a secret and join me in pieces. Fall and rewrite the bitter end. Eternally yours. Eternally yours. Eternally
Damn.
I'm ready to bury all of my bones. I'm ready to lie but say I won't. So tell me a secret and join me in pieces. To run in this cold made of stones. I'm ready to beg to make amends. And sleep in this dirt we call our bed. So tell me a secret and join me in pieces. To fall and rewrite the bitter end.
Holy
Baby.
moly. Really, really good song. Really good song.
Yeah, definitely.
We also
Like that.
make a point to feature other YouTubers, etc., and we just did Acid Bath. I don't know if the guy's still in the chat, but the person who uploaded that Acid Bath video was in the room, and so
Oh, no way.
yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
So I wanted to shout out his website. It's called the Acid Bath Archive. It's right there.
Okay, that's cool.
So check that out for
right
the big
there,
homie.
Acid Bath Archive. Can you put
Yeah.
him up there?
Yeah, there he is, right there. So that's his
Oh,
YouTube.
that's cool.
That's his YouTube page. You gotta subscribe, right? I mean, we wouldn't have had that Acid Bath song. And Acid Bath is pretty crazy about their copyright stuff. And this guy uploaded it. We were able to do it. So
Yeah.
Acid Bath Archive. Like, share, comment, subscribe. Check him out. Okay. Okay. But we're not talking about Acid Bath right
we're
now.
not.
We're talking about
Motionless
in White.
This one was I have like two completely opposing feelings about this song. Okay, one, I loved the sound of it. The guy's voice, ridiculous. Obviously, I always kind of like those dark sort of love songs.
Yes, you do.
know, I'm kind of drawn to them.
Yes, you do.
So I don't know if did you see this picture? Look at this picture. They're in a casket together. But I like this.
Oh my god.
Yeah, look at this one.
Is that the video?
Right here. It must be.
We should have watched that video.
Yeah. Oh,
I
yeah,
love
that would've been
lighting
pretty
like
cool.
that.
So do
You're
I.
definitely going to use that as a screen cap.
Yeah, I am.
can
This
tell.
is going in there. Yep.
Yeah.
So anyway, definitely, yeah. Look at this. Whoo! I would do this with you. I would totally do
Was
this.
that the coffin?
Yeah.
How did you find that?
I just looked up Motionless in White, Eternally Yours.
Okay.
Anyway, a fan of all the pictures that go along with it and the energy that it provides. The song was great. Lyrically, I liked it. Some of the stuff I actually didn't understand. Okay, so I understand where they were going with the song. But for me, like whenever he did the chorus, it became two different things for me. But you know what? This is music and it's art and it can become what you want. So when he said, I'm ready to bury all my bones, I'm ready to lie but say I won't. So tell me your secrets and join me in pieces to rot in this garden made of stones, eternally yours. I've been doing like a lot of personal growth.
Hella personal
putting
growth.
A lot of energy and focus into it, and I felt so unable to make any progress for the longest time because I kept thinking about all of my problems or all of my shortcomings, and it wasn't like helping me. And one thing that I've noticed is self-pity or feeling bad for yourself because of what situation you're in or something. It's literally the worst thing that you can do to yourself. Let somebody else feel bad for you, and you put your feelings of feeling bad for somebody on somebody else. Look for somebody else that's in a situation. Because when you feel bad for yourself, you actually can get a twisted view of the situation that you're in. I'm obviously in a very good situation, but I don't know, like I just was letting my mind just kind of like spiral downward. It wasn't a good feeling. So when he said, I'm ready to bury all my bones, that to me was like, okay, just leave the past in the past. And I've said this before on the channel, I always wanted to live my life without regrets. And trying to live my life without regrets, I ended up creating a bunch of regrets because I figured the only way that I could live a life without regret was to foresee what might make me feel like a feeling of regret and make that situation not happen. So I ended up living the majority of my life based off guilt. Okay, will this make me feel guilty? Will that make me feel guilty? Okay, if I find something that makes me feel guilty, I'm going to flip that so then I don't have to feel regret about it. But it wasn't a healthy way to live, and it wasn't up until very recently that I realized that. So that to me was like, I'm ready to bury all my bones, like just leaving all that stuff behind. And then when it says, I'm ready to lie but say I won't, that flipped in my mind because one thing that I've been, when you are somebody that like feels bad for yourself on a certain situation, you will twist things. Like we have one kid that's like doing this constantly right now. He's always feeling sorry for himself and feeling bad for himself, and he literally gets situations twisted all the time because he's looking for that. But he's actually trying to make some progress with that too, because I've been talking to him a lot about it for my own growth.
A lot. And there's a couple folks in this household that are really like,
yeah, we're making some real progress
pushing on the self-improvement shit.
Yeah. So that was, but then so tell me your secrets and join me in pieces. So for me, like this self-improvement stuff is very important for me personally. But then on top of that, it helps us. And so we get like, the more that I get like, the more that I understand myself and my weaknesses. I was talking to one of the kids about this yesterday. I was like, look, this is a very convenient worldview we have. We're Christians, so we believe that everybody's a sinner. So you don't have to feel like shit because you do bad things or because you make bad decisions. What you have to do is you have to recognize where you're weak, and then you can have somebody that helps you out. So I have weaknesses that are not your weaknesses. And before, when Vin would try to be like, hey, like here's a way to improve on that, I just took it personally. Oh, poor me, Vin's saying something to me again. Instead of being like, hey, thanks for pointing something out, a blind spot that I have, like that's a really good friend. And so we all need those people around us. So that to me was like, so tell me your secrets and join me in pieces. But it was actually places, not pieces in my mind. So we were joining together when I'm like burying the bones. And then in Rot in This Garden Made of Stones, it was just like, we're just going to stay here forever now. Like, let's stay in this garden. The garden is obviously like Eden to me, or in the presence of God to me and stuff like that. I know that's not what the song is about. I'm saying what it means to me. And then to rot in this garden made of stones, eternally yours. Then it was just like, okay, we're together. But then the eternally yours part was we only have eternity because of God. And so that just all came together. You, me, God, all of that. I will say the ending, not to take away from what the artist was doing, but I'm more than willing to rot in hell with you. I literally would have said that like 6 months ago, a year ago, whatever, about us, like whatever, like if I have to go to hell to be with you, then I'm willing to do that. And I'm not willing to do that anymore. I love you very much, but I'm not willing to do that anymore. I'm like, I have to be with God. So I'm very sorry if we can't be, but I need to be with God. Like there is no person that can replace that feeling that you get when you're like with God. Anyway, I know that doesn't make a sense to a lot of people, but that is my experience, and so that's why I'm talking about it. But I love this song. And what's happening? Did they break up and then he's saying that they want to kind of go back and fix it and rewrite it and then be together forever?
I think almost every single time there's a rock star that writes something about a relationship, I always assume that there's some sort of infidelity. Yeah. Because of the nature of the work that they do. And that has a lot to do with me observing. It's very hard for dudes to, it doesn't matter what the context is, to spend all that time away from their lady without doing stuff. So, for example, in Islam, there's this thing called, the Shia still practices, called muta, marriage, which is these guys are doing jihad like perpetually. So they were like, Ya Rasulullah, I mean, you know, we're doing jihad a lot, we're away from our wives. But then you had these prostitutes. But prostitution is haram. So they're like, Ya Rasulullah,
it's like sinful, it's not allowed.
Yeah, it's forbidden. So what do we do? And he's like, well, you can temporarily marry the prostitute. So that's called muta marriage. It then was later abrogated and the law said you guys can't do that anymore. But the Shia were like, nah, man, that's still in play, bro. Shout out to the Shia. But my point is, like, so I've seen it in obviously my context was a little bit different. We were not rock stars touring the world. So when he says, I'm ready to bury all my bones, I'm ready to lie, but say I won't. So that's him saying, all right, babe.
He already knows that he's
like,
going to do it again.
And so does she. That's why he's saying in his song. So he's like, all right, babe, I'll never do that again. But he's lying, and he knows he's lying. Tell me your secrets, join me in peace. I'm ready to bury all my bones. So it's like, you know, we talk about skeletons in people's closets. Mm-hmm. It's like he's got this secret that he's keeping from his girl, and now he's got to tell her, and then he's going to say, hey, I'm sorry, I'll never do it again, which he knows is a lie. And then he says, tell me your secrets. And I think when you're a person who is doing that to your significant other, you almost want your significant other to have some horrible secret where they violated you so that you could say, okay, now we're even. So
yeah, I guess I can
look,
see that.
I'm ready to bleed to make amends. That means, okay, you caught
I'm
me.
ready to get hurt so we can fix this.
Well, I'm ready to bury all my bones. That is, I'm revealing this secret, right? Like, I'm going to take the skeleton out of the closet and finally bury it because, you know, I'm going to lie to you and say I won't, which is, hey, babe, okay, so here's the thing. I've been cheating on you and tour. I'm sorry, I'll never do it again. Lie. Then he says, tell me your secrets and join me in pieces, which is the whole, like, hey, do you have any bad thing that you've done so that now me and you can be equal? Join me in pieces. We're both broken people. So you can't really judge me for cheating on you because you did X, Y, and Z thing. We're both broken people. There's actually a bit of truth to that to a degree. To rot in this garden made of stones. So to me, like, it's like you said about that guy where he, you know, at the beginning of a relationship, you should just say, okay, here's where I messed up. Here's where you're messed up. And let's go.
He said crazy. The word he uses crazy, which I loved. Yeah. He said that when people get together on like dates or whatever, they shouldn't, everybody, because what happens when people date is everybody puts their best face forward. And so you hide all of your stuff so that way you can put out all of your great qualities. Look, everybody has great qualities and everybody has areas where they suck. So everybody just puts out their best, so everybody fronts with their best. But he's saying, honestly, we should all have a society where we can go out to dinner with someone and have this understanding that we're all crazy. And then we say, okay, well, where are you crazy? And I'm going to tell you where I'm crazy and have an honest dialogue about this so we can see if our two crazies can work or not.
Yeah. Shout out to Luke Swift, by the way.
But I didn't think that was a crazy idea. I thought it was a really, really good idea. I just don't know if people could throw in with that.
I don't know. We've had a lot of discussions, and you didn't take very kindly to that phraseology.
No, but that's because there's a certain idea that goes along with it. So right now, if somebody says you're crazy, that makes you think, well, you should be like in some asylum or drugged up somewhere. You know what I mean? Like this sort of picture that you have of, you know. Actually, when I think crazy, you know what I think of? You saw Beauty and the Beast?
Yeah.
You remember when they lied about the Beauty's father and said that he was crazy, and then that weird guy from the asylum comes to take him to the asylum, but the asylum driver is clearly more crazy than her dad. Her dad was just eccentric. So he was like crazy. So I think of that. I think of that cart, and I think of being carted away if somebody says I'm crazy. I don't like hearing that. Are you listening?
No, I do. I am listening.
Okay, so that's a big major tip for you. And so, but in that situation, in that guy's worldview, there's a worldwide understanding that we're all crazy. So then the word crazy doesn't make you think of asylum. The word crazy is like how Christians use sinful or, shadow.
Yeah, it's amazing to me. And some of it, I just go, okay, it's just a timing situation. Like, these are all conversations that we used to have. We had it all the time. But for some reason, that particular line at that moment is like this earth-shattering thing. We've had that conversation like a million times.
I know.
And it's more of a fascinating thing to me, and it more makes me say that
timing.
Look, it's God, man. God's got to do it. If God doesn't do it, it doesn't matter what you say. Because I'm like, what? I said it to you a trillion times in a million ways, but it's really interesting what Amy Lee said. She says, how realistic is Radharani's love for Krishna? She is okay with him being intimate with other gopis because it makes him happy. They say it's ultimate love. So Krishna is, Krishna, he's all playful and mischievous, and Radharani's is his main squeeze. But, he's a high value God. So he, like high value man, he's a high value God. So he's got all these gopis around him who, hey, Krishna. But Radharani loves Krishna so much that she wants him to have that pleasure. So that's the definition of true love.
Here's what I'll say. I'm pretty sure that religion was created by a man. And so,
as are all major religions. Continue.
So it's kind of like putting it out there that here's this woman that's all happy with this fucked up situation that most women, I think that if you are conditioned, you might be more okay with it, but I think it's going to bring a whole host of problems. So I think it's unrealistic, and I think that some guy was like, hey, what would be cool? It'd be so cool to have like a bunch of women, not thinking about, if you should watch that Mormon documentary. Like, that poor man looked like he was suffering. It was the very first time that I ever felt bad for a man in a polygamous situation. Because I always looked at guys in a polygamous situation and be like, wow, what a dirtbag. Like, he's not even, and I feel so bad for the girl. But in that, I literally felt so bad for the guy.
Marrying a bunch of women is yeah. I don't understand it. I don't understand it. Like, I'm not, like, that idea is such a crazy idea to me.
I would literally never. Okay, I say literally never. I would never put myself in that situation. There are much crazier things that I would do and ways that I would keep myself out of that situation. So obviously, if stuff got really bad and I had to be in a situation like that, then there would have to be a lot to push me to stay in a situation. Because other than that, I would no.
Yeah, we're watching Kevin Samuels, and Kevin Samuels is extremely pragmatic, almost an anti-romanticist to a degree.
Yeah, that's what it sounds like.
And his thing on high value men is that they don't cheat; they're exercising their options. So Krishna would be a high value god because he's the supreme personality of Godhead, according to Bhakti yoga practitioners, right? So it's just very fascinating watching that play out, because that's such a human construct. Like, hey, you're the big man on campus, all these broads love you, I'm your main squeeze. But honestly, Sori, that's been the way that relationships have gone for the majority of the world, for the majority of time.
That you would have like a main girl and then others floating around, you mean?
If you're a highly successful dominant male, they're very rarely monogamistic.
Oh, I can see that. I can totally see that.
So, like, the problem is this guy is a high value male because he's in a 1% of 1% of 1%. On top of that, he's in a context where he's away from home 65% of the time. And so, Kevin Samuels would just tell the girl, look, he's never going to stop doing that. So either look the other way or find somebody who's not a millionaire rock star who's going to leave every other weekend. If you don't have a biblical worldview, Ben is asking, about consent. It's not about, okay, so I'm going to put Ben's thing and then ask. it's consensual. If you wanted a side man and Vin was okay with it, would that make you a bad person? Well, the question is not whether it would make me a bad person or not. The question is it healthy? Is that mentality about prosecuting relationships healthy? Mm-hmm. Is it healthy for a woman to say, okay, this guy has a bunch of options and I want to stay married to him? But again, when Kevin was talking to this woman, she's like, I believe in love. And he laughed at her. He was like, marriage isn't about love.
Yeah.
He's got this very transactional, kind of anti-romantic understanding of marriage. But if you're not operating in a biblical worldview, and I don't mean that Christians have the only primer on what marriage and love is. What I'm saying is we allow ourselves to be constricted to the Sharia of the Bible. Mm-hmm. So it's monogamy. Even in the Old Testament context, monogamy was preferred to polygamy or polygyny or bigamy. Because every single time there is a non-monogamous relationship in the Old Testament, it literally 100% of the time descends into chaos. People end up dead. People end up getting raped. All types of horrible things happen and it's always rooted in the guy having more than one woman, and it always creates a negative fallout. So even the Old Testament is against that polygamous type of relationship. But if you're not constricting yourself to a biblical worldview, I don't think you can say that Kevin Samuels' mentality is completely crazy.
No, I don't think it. I'll tell you why I don't think it's crazy. Is because that's not the only option. He's saying if you want a high-powered man and you want somebody who high-powered is they're making good money, they are a solid person, they're intellectual, they're probably artistic. There are a lot of things in one person. And so that type of a man can have lots of options. And so for me, I'm with a high-powered man now, so to like go backwards, that would be very difficult. I'm in a high-powered, you are a high-powered man, but you're also extremely loyal. So I like have the best of all of that. Like I just like friggin' won the lottery because I didn't even realize any of that before.
But you're also, he would say that you would be a 9 or a 10. So,
yes, but I have too many kids to be like that. That takes it down.
Yeah,
he's right. What he's saying is that if you have children, the child automatically takes you down points because the stepdad then has to. His money is going to go toward that child. His time is going to go toward that child. He said you're in the middle of a Me Too generation, so accusations could come out.
Yeah,
There's risk involved.
Sure.
There's all kinds of stuff involved. And he's like he was saying. He's dating 20-year-olds, he said, because he likes to take them to, Bermuda or something.
He's like
and
45.
The 20-year-old, I mean, I think it's a little crazy, but the 20-year-old is like, oh my gosh, this is so exciting. Where a woman that's older is like, oh yeah, I've been here, let's go over there. And he doesn't want that. He wants all those new experiences with the 20-year-old. And he's a high-powered man, so he's like, I am owed that. I personally, like if I wasn't with you, let's say there was no such thing as Vin, and I had the option of being with a high-powered man who was going to be with multiple women and me, or I was going to take the plumber, I would take the plumber.
Yeah, I know you would. I know you
hands down.
I know you take the plumber because your original disposition without any philosophy is you're a heavy romantic. Mm-hmm. So he's not. But I feel like I do want to address Ben's question here. Who are you to make the judgment call? How do you know their sexuality isn't just polygamous and that is how they like it? Well, what do you mean by judgment call? I'm not advocating for a monogamous Sharia. What I'm saying is that throughout human history, women have had to be one of 3 or one of 5 or whatever, where alpha males have access to resources and privileges that other males do not. And so what I'm saying is, what I have observed historically, and this is borne out easily scientifically and psychologically, that when women are, when it's communicated to women that they're one of 3 and that they're not exclusive, that the guy just views her as whatever, as some sexual object or whatever. This is not about judgment or non-judgment. This is what does the empirical data show us about what happens to a woman psychologically in that situation? And Ben, get me a psychologist or a psychiatrist or whoever that says, oh yeah, that's a healthy mindset for a woman to have. That has no deleterious effects on the woman at all. See, what happens is because Ben, I'm specifically talking to Ben, because Ben doesn't have a Christian worldview about sex, sexuality, and relationships, all he can do is default to this concept of consent. But we've seen in so many different areas where consent is not enough to create a healthy sexuality. An example would be you have an 18-year-old girl. She's starving to death. She's got a 6-year-old brother she has to take care of. She just turned 18 yesterday. She knocks on the door of a hotel and says, "Can I have something to eat? My brother is starving to death." And the guy says, "I've got a fridge full of chicken, and if you take off your clothes, you can have however much you want." Well, she takes off her clothes and does it because he has her over a barrel. With the exception of Ben, most of us would say that guy's a scummy motherfucker. So that's just one example, and I can literally create hundreds of examples where consent is not enough to determine whether or not a sexual act is positive, negative, or moral versus immoral. So I don't believe that a person or a man or a woman enters into these unhealthy sexualities because and that makes them bad people. As Christians, I believe all of us are bad people already, and so we are going to corrupt everything, whether it's economics. As you can see here, Ben's pretty good about how the sinful nature has corrupted economics. Relationships, art, media, everything has been corrupted by our sinful nature. And because men are generally in dominant positions in society, it then gets converted into a lot of trauma and pain for women. And now men get to sit back and say, "Hey, I don't care about the economic situation of the girl in the magazine is irrelevant to me. The only thing that's relevant is that she said okay." I'm sorry, that doesn't work. So when we're talking, and what's interesting is this whole dynamic between the high value man, right, and a woman being told to accept being one of three or to look the other way when she's cheated on, really comes down to economics. So the girl at the hotel room is an extreme version of the problem, but the issue is still the same. You cannot be a high value man in Kevin Samuel's worldview without making $300,000 a year. So it's primarily an economic situation. And so at that point, what he's talking about is not a relationship or a marriage. It's a concubine contract almost. Yeah. It's almost like a girlfriend experience type of situation. So now, obviously, he's not, I don't believe he's thinking in that framework, like in these categories of the high value man and monogamy and psychology. And he's not thinking about that. All that's in front of him is he's got this conflict with his girl and he's trying to figure it out. Yeah. And he made a pretty damn good song out of it, but it does touch to the dynamics between men and women and how we prosecute relationships.
Hold on, because I wanted to respond to that message.
Which one?
Right here. Amy Lee said, "To be honest, if I knew my man and I had a special bond, I wouldn't mind him being with another woman. Physically only, though. No emotional or intellectual bond allowed." For me, the fact that he would be good with being with another woman would say that we didn't have a special bond. The exclusivity of the relationship to me is like, okay, you have a special bond. Like the idea of me going to be with another guy is absolutely outlandish to me. Like what I have with Vin is the only place that I want that. I don't want anything outside of that. So yeah. And if we didn't have a special bond, then we do. That's part of our special bond is that's like our secret, you know? So yeah, I disagree with you. And also I do think it's interesting that the physical, you would be okay with a physical, but you don't want them emotionally or intellectually connecting. But that it's interesting or odd to me because if they're physical, they might end up slipping into emotional connection because there is a connection that happens.
Yeah, this whole idea that you can divide up the human person, that's what we're talking about, like the whole friends with benefits nonsense. Right. Like you can just divide up the human person that way.
It doesn't work.
It doesn't work in the real world. It just doesn't. And I don't think, Amy Lee is saying, I wouldn't mind. She's not saying, I want this is optimal.
Right.
And that's one of the things
he pointed out
that
yes,
Kevin points out. He says, "What do you want?"
Right.
That's the issue.
Right. Not what will you allow or
Correct.
what will you be okay with.
Correct.
But what do you want?
Correct, because there are a lot of structures
Right.
that communicate not just to women, but like people of color and whatever, except this. Mm-hmm. Right? Mm-hmm. It's not going to change. So your wants are irrelevant except this.
Yeah.
And so that's what I'm saying. But I am playing around a little bit with Ben, because Ben thinks he's found a loophole, because I've addressed this issue before, and this is the best Ben could do. Having starvation on the opposite side of that deal means she didn't have a free choice. She had an ultimatum. No, Ben, because as I've explained to you on a multitude of occasions, the Farley report tells us that over 85% of sex workers, if they had the ability to generate revenue in a way different than what they're doing now, they would do that. But you're still a consumer of pornography, Ben. So I agree with you that she didn't have a free choice in the libertarian sense. But again, she still made a choice. And Ben, you and I have had the conversation about the girl at the hotel. And you said, hey, man, she still consented. Now, I'm glad that you've evolved a bit and said that guy is a bad guy, but that's why I'm saying, Ben, the concept of simply consenting, simply saying yes. Like, for example, if we brought that guy to court, right? Let's say this happened in Nevada where prostitution was illegal, right? And she said, he violated my consent. She would not win that case in court, Ben. The fact that she was under duress financially would actually be proof for the defendants, right, that she initiated the entire situation. So I understand you're saying it's technically not a free choice, yada yada yada, but at the end of the day, since you want to whittle sexuality only down to consent, Ben, I'm sorry, but from a legal perspective, he did nothing wrong from a legal perspective. Because of the concept of consent. That's why I'm saying, and I'm glad, here is the actual definition of consent, Ben. Permission for something to happen or an agreement to do something. Mm-hmm. That's all that consent is. So I'm glad that you're evolving in your worldview about sexuality, but this whole idea that consent is all you need to do, sorry, as you can see, that's not good enough. So the problem, Ben, is that you cannot establish what is good and healthy sexuality from your current worldview, right? You can't establish that from your current worldview. So what's happening is you're a better person than your worldview is allowing you to be, and so now you're in conflict with your own worldview. You're not in conflict with me. You're in conflict with your own worldview. All right.
Okay, so
and then Ben's very articulate response is, "I have not changed my stance, you idiot."
And on that, we will rate the song. So I loved it.
And then
I love the sound of it.
Brian Walker goes, "Now, Vin, please ban Ben."
Oh, okay. I'm actually going to give this one a 9.85.
A 9.85. I'll go with that. I will go with a 9.85 because, first of all, the chorus is just in my head now.
Oh, I know. Me too.
I'm never gonna be able to get that song out of my head. So that's the first thing. Like, it's really good. Lyrically, I thought it was a lot of people were like, "Oh, this is." No. They're like, "Oh, this is emo, blah blah blah." Lyrically, he did really good with the poetic angle of it. Mm-hmm. Ready to bury my bones, ready to lie, say I won't. Tell me your secrets. Garden of Stones. I'm eternally yours. Using the irony of we're rotting together. You know, that type of thing.
Oh yeah, I loved it.
I thought he had tight lyricism. He did a really good job. Really good job. Okay.
It's true though. In the name of love, a lot of things have been done. So like lying to somebody,
yes.
And people will say, "Well, I just, I didn't want to hurt them."
Yeah.
You did though, because you did what you did. So now you need to be honest with the person. Yeah. If you don't want to hurt them, don't do the deed.
Yeah.
If you do the deed, then it's only your cowardice that's keeping you from telling them. You need to tell them.
The moral of the story is, I don't care what anybody says or what they say they believe. We all know that sex is not just a physical interaction between two animals. We know that. That's why we have prisons, right? There are no prisons in the animal world because of sex. So sex in the human context, something different is happening. And whatever your worldview is, you have to account for that different thing that's happening when two human beings get together and have sex. And I do think honesty is the best policy. And what I would say to the ladies is, I'm not going to say the minute you find out the guy cheated on you that you should leave, because people change, and I believe in redemption, obviously, as a Christian. But I think, ladies, you should have a bar for what you're not going to accept, and you shouldn't compromise on it.
Yep.
I'd say it that way.
That's good.
You should say, and you should communicate clearly when you guys are having the intro, this is where I'm crazy discussion. You say, look, this is my line. This is what I want. This is what I'll tolerate. This is what I won't tolerate. I think those are important discussions to have, because we know that what we want and what we'll tolerate are not the same thing. And so I'm still a realist, right? So I'd say that's why I'm including tolerate, because maybe you'll most likely end up with a man that's not going to give you what you want 100% of the time as far as the bare bones of the relationship. But if it's clear what you want, what you'll tolerate, and what you won't tolerate, you're going to be in really, really good shape. I'm telling you that as a man. You'll be in really, really good shape. Having said that, Vin out.
Sori out.
Gone. You want to do another one?
I do. I just... Because I have a lot to do after we finish working.
I'm with it.
I will be right back. Occupy the people. Entertain them. Are you not entertained?
I agree with you. There is a difference between sex and making love. And if I would have seen that while I was doing my final thoughts... Cheers, Luke. If I would have seen that while I was doing my final thoughts, I would have included that, because that's a good point. Also true, Tasco. Same should be said of men, but you know that I have that I'm biased toward the girls. So yes, but you're right. Oh, I just saw that. I gotta test Sori to see if she'll get this. Go back to Springfield because you are a simp, son. Get it? That's a really, really good one. Who hurt Ben to make him such an angry koala? That's a good point. I don't know why Ben is such an angry koala. Vin, I want to bring up Socrates. He once said he shouldn't betray Athens' law because it took care of him, similarly to the girl consenting. However, it was his only option, just like the girl. Oh, I agree. I mean, that we just got done reading Animal Farm, and Napoleon was the only candidate. So it's like, okay, we only have one candidate. Okay. I get it. Sex is believed to make people happy like porn. Yeah, what porn does is it takes one aspect of human sexuality and converts it into capital, and takes away all the transcendent beauty and mystery of what sex and sexuality is. And if you've ever listened to any of these ex-porn stars, I actually did a moderated debate one time with a woman about the sex industry. And I brought up the Farley report and all these other reports that talk about the horrors that the vast majority of women in pornography are dealing with. And during the cross-examination period, I said, should it be legal for women to be physically assaulted and abused, literally abused on camera for men's sexual gratification? She said yes. Okay. And why? What was the justification? Because she consented. Now, I don't know about you guys, but I don't think women wake up every day and say, you know what, I'd love for somebody to beat the hell out of me on the camera.
I just have to help her get a little situated, so give me like less than 5 minutes.
Okay. Yeah, I'm talking. Yeah. I don't know how many girls wake up and say, I'd like to have my face beaten on camera for the sexual gratification of women, or a little girl when they're asking, what do you want to do and what do you want to be? The idea that these girls are not under economic duress, that they have other options, that they all have all these options and they just choose this like you choose being a doctor or a lawyer is ridiculous. It's a lie. It's untrue. It's completely untrue. And so, you know, we did an expose on Middle America on the sex industry and how horrible it is. There was one website that Visa and MasterCard is distancing themselves from because a young girl got basically kidnapped. Mom couldn't find her. She was underage, and wouldn't you know it, she ended up at this site. And she was a very popular person. So you had literally hundreds of thousands of men getting off on literally the sexual violation of this underage girl. And the issue with pornography is that it is literally impossible to tell the difference between a girl who's being trafficked against her will and a girl that's not. It's also impossible to tell the difference between a woman who's doing it only because she's under financial duress, in which case, as Ben Webb rightly said, that they don't really have a choice. The problem, Ben, is that if you're a regular consumer of pornography, it is almost certain that you have derived a certain modicum of pleasure from a woman who is in a horrible situation with no other choice. Now, I'm not going to sit here and say what that makes you as a person or as a man, because quite frankly, Ben, one of the things I love about you is that you will say things out in public that other people believe in their minds but will not say because they don't want to be judged. But the fact of the matter is, if you're a consistent purveyor of that stuff, I'm sorry, but it is impossible to say that you haven't derived some pleasure off of the violation of a young woman or even a girl. And I think that's a really sober issue that needs to be dealt with. And I'm glad that you're evolving to a degree, Ben, but you need to keep going. I also think, Ben, not having daughters allows you to say some of the crazy shit you say about sex work. Because I don't believe if you had a daughter, you'd have the same opinion. As a matter of fact, I was talking to the husband of a woman, and she was a sex worker, and she said that her husband has no issues with it. And then I said, you guys have a daughter? She said, yes. And I asked the man, I said, do you think your husband will want your daughter in that industry? She said, of course. And I said, ask him. So she brought the dude on camera, and he goes, what? She goes, you wouldn't mind if so-and-so, whatever. He's like, no, I prefer she not do that. So it was a very interesting moment because it said a lot about what he felt about her, how he viewed their relationship, and how he viewed their daughter. It was actually a sad moment, to be honest with you, because there was this moment of realization in her face because the implications there are obvious, right? So, you know, there's a lot to think about. All
right, babe.
Well, I don't know. Yeah. So, you know, it's a very difficult topic to navigate, but it does indicate something. Now, here's Ben. I know a few sex workers, and what I've seen close to what you describe, I think I've mentioned that one of my closest friends was a gaffer, so I've met a few through him. That's fine, Ben. But I'm sure, you know, you're an intellectual person. I'm sure you know that your little anecdotal data does not in any way, shape, or form rival Farley's account that's been used by the U.S. State Department, as well as other clearinghouses for sexual justice, right? This is a credentialed doctor who has published a groundbreaking report that has never been contradicted. Ever. So those are the numbers, Ben. 88% of them had post-traumatic stress disorder. 85% of them said that if they could do something else, they would do it immediately. 64% of them said that they suffered violence from their customers as well as their handlers, or whatever you want to say. Not to mention all of the high-level porn starlets, whatever, that became millionaires off the industry, the horrors that they would recount, and they were A-list porn stars. So, look, I understand, because the fact of the matter is a lot of people have a chemical addiction to pornography. It's just a fact. It's a chemical addiction, just like heroin or anything else. So in the past, I have not been as charitable as I should be, I think, about people who are consumers of pornography. And a lot of that has to do with the fact that I worked with the fallout of the sex industry. See, Ben, you have these people you talk to, but I also have people that we worked with. I also have people that died in this fucking industry, and one of them that almost died in this fucking industry, Ben. So I understand what you're talking about with the few people that you know. But I've been in the special crimes unit with the folks as we were planning on infiltrating certain neighborhoods, et cetera, et cetera. And it's not this pristine idea that your friends are telling you or whatever. But again, we've got the Farley report. Get something, Ben, that contradicts the Farley report and says that the vast majority of women in pornography love it and they would do it if they had the opportunity to do something else. Sure, send me that report from a credentialed scholar, and then I will come on here and then we'll talk about something else. But if you can't do that, then that's got implications for you, right? Well, Queen, that's actually really interesting about the relationship between prostitution and porn stars, because one of the techniques that a lot of these pimps are doing now is that they will televise, or they'll videotape one of their workers working and then put it up on a porn site. So then they can come back to the person and say, "You're a porn star now. Nobody is ever going to hire you for anything." Because, you know, if I'm in Nevada or something like that, and I'm like, you know what, screw this guy, and you leave in the dark of night and you escape, that happens a lot. Trust me, I know. But psychologically, if I tell you, look, that shit is up there forever, and anywhere you go, people are going to know that you did that. So a lot of the pimps are now using that as a tactic. You know, in the 80s, they'd get you all addicted to drugs and shit. They'd get you chemically dependent, and then prostitution was the only way that you could use your habit. So now they're doing that, and they're including putting shit up on the internet. And there's no way to know which girl is positive about that and which one is negative. It's literally impossible. So I understand there's a chemical dependency on it that nobody wants to talk about. I get it. And it's one thing to say, man, that's really fucked up. What a terrible industry. I need help. I've got a chemical dependency on this thing. I need help. That's one thing. But to try to deny that these women are being, that significant human suffering is happening because you want to ease your own conscience, that's out of bounds. You got to look at this shit. Look, Ben, if what you're doing is right, look at it straight in the face and stop making shit up. You've got a few friends that say they are okay with the sex industry, so that makes it okay. That outdoes the Farley report, the reports of the U.S. State Department and the government of Minnesota, which declared pornography a health crisis in Minnesota. Minnesota is a massively blue state, by the way.
And secondly, the topic is such that people in that industry, and we've talked to them personally, they don't feel comfortable saying publicly how they feel about that. Not. And you've already put your stance forward. She knows how you feel about it.
Correct.
And so for her to say, actually, no, I have a problem with this, is you're not a safe person for her to talk to. So you're not going to get the straight truth. We've had conversations with people where they say one thing in front of a crowd, and then when they're they're behind closed doors with us, they say something completely different about the industry that they're involved in. So we've obviously put ourselves forward as people that are safe to talk to about it. And so their concerns, their fears, their feelings are reported to us.
The person that I debated, who was arguing all stridently against my point. Now, I respect the hell out of her because so many people talk so much shit, and then when it's time to pony up and actually do the debate, they won't do it. Or when they get hit with a tough crescent and cross-X, they won't answer the question. She did. She was the most, of all the people I've ever debated, she was the most gangster one, period. But after that debate,
Should you say that? I don't think you...
Yeah, it's okay. We kept in contact, and she told me straight up. She said, yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
She told me.
Yeah.
And this was a veteran in the game, so please miss me with it.
Right.
All right. So
it's a Vin debate. We are irrelevant. LOL. Okay, so we are about to go into another song here.
Yeah, I mean, look, I do think that what Bricktown is saying is a major factor. What do you feel about the sexual conservatism in most veins of Christianity? Don't you suppose being more open with our bodies and sexual natures would make it harder to blackmail? I agree 100,000%, and that's why I'm very, I've talked about this. I talk to the boys, because we've got man study and we talk about being men. I talk to the boys about sex and sexuality a lot. We make it extremely graphic, and I really go out of my way to be as sex positive as possible because I do think that it creates a certain neurosis within Christian culture. I remember when we were watching Wonder Woman, we came out of the Wonder Woman thing, and Sori's like, I don't know, man, like Wonder Woman was in this, she was in her little dress, she was like, and I said, Sori, we just got done watching a 2.5 hour orgy of violence, and I said, on top of that, there were gods, there were idols in the movie. There were false gods in the movie, which gets you executed in the Old Testament. I'm like, but that's okay. But Wonder Woman's skirt was too low. That's the problem. And so, we go back and forth on it, and it's good that she's there because I'm probably too liberal with sexuality, and she's probably whatever. But no, I agree with you, Brick. Like, I think it's a major mistake about how Christians have, dealt with sexuality. We didn't, like I told the boys, like, don't have a birds and the bees talk with your kids. Like, sexuality is part of who you are and a major part of who you are. SubhanAllah, I mean, we call you a boy. I mean, it's almost at the central definitional of who you are as a person. So it can't just be one talk, guys. You gotta have a running conversation about sex and sexuality with your kids. So yeah, I think that's the way forward, is to bring that shit out in the open, and that sex should always be presented as a positive thing, because it is, obviously. I said, look, boys. I said, look, if there was ever a doubt as to God's opinion on sex, all you have to know is that literally the first thing that we were commanded to do was be fruitful and multiply. So if you ever feel a sexual urge, you should thank God for it. It's just a matter of, just like we teach you with everything else, channeling it in the right direction. So, yeah, I agree 100%, Brick. That's a really good understanding of why there's so much, I think, pathology around Christian sexuality. So that's good. Very, very good point. Okay. Soraya, let's go.
Yep.
Holy moly. Fun fact. Wonder Woman was designed from the comic creator's S&M kink. I did not know that.
Well, then I was right to say her skirt was too short.
Well, yeah. I mean, of course.
I think that I would be more conscious I'm more conscious of the violence now because, you brought it to my attention. I think that if I had a child that was kind of drawn toward violence, then I would be more conscious of it. you know.
And here's the last thing I'll say from my brother Tasco. I know you love hating the New Zealand sex industry, but there are benefits you don't account for because it's legal. Abuse assault is more likely to report it. Workers gain benefits others are entitled to, etc. Tasco, go ahead and get me the data that says that. What I can tell you, Tasco, is that your country, New Zealand, ever since it decriminalized all three phases of sex work, being the customer, the woman, and the pimp, has hit as number one as a destination country for sex and human traffickers. Literally. The year it happened, right after that, the U.S. State Department declared it a destination country for sex traffickers. Because your country has made it a haven to traffic women from other countries. That's actual data. That's a fact. So get me the data that says, tell me about all these other benefits. Get us the data that tells us all these wonderful benefits that women are dealing with in New Zealand.
Right.
Because your country legalized all three phases of the game. Now, I think the Nordic model is the best model. Is that you decriminalize the woman because she's not a criminal, she's a survivor. And you criminalize the exploitative bastards who are buying women, and you criminalize the pimps who are exploiting these women and getting themselves rich off these women's trauma.
100%.
It's always, my thing is, here's my thing. We're dealing with human beings, okay? Well, we're dealing with human beings. So my thing is, if this was your mother, your sister, your son, and there's a country that made it easy for people to
exploit them,
and there's some ancillary benefit which is honestly just made up out of whole cloth, how would you feel? We're talking about all these issues from a position of privilege.
Right.
This is one of the things that gets me, and Tasco's my man, and you guys know how I feel about Ben. But we're talking about these things from a position of privilege. You're not in this situation. None of my daughters are in that situation. So I'm going to sit back and go, I know our country's been a destination country of sex traffickers ever since we made this thing, legal. But here's an undocumented list of benefits that you're not accounting for.
Right.
Well, there were a lot of benefits to the German people when you had all those Jews working that hard. There's a lot of them. There's also a lot of benefits to the Southern economy because of slavery. And if you look at the abolitionist debates in the antebellum period, Tasco, in our country, because you're not from America, you will see that one of the arguments that the pro-slavery folks were using was there are benefits to the Negro with slavery that will be lost if they're freed. And you know what? They were absolutely right. There were benefits from being a slave that were surrendered once they became free. They were right, but it was still the right thing to do because the evil of slavery was so evil that the ancillary benefits that they had were not enough to account for the justification of continuing the practice and institution. See what I'm saying? So I would Tasco, I would push back on you and say, get the data, source the data, and then deal with the fact that your country has been hitting as a tier 1. I'm going to put it out there right there. Here you go. Yeah, this is 2020. Now, when I had previously done the reporting, they didn't, we were in 2020. So now we're in 2021. So you can see the latest. And yes, New Zealand popped as a, let's see, look, a tier 1 country. New Zealand, Tasco, is a tier 1 country for sex traffickers. You're the best. That's your country.
And you know what's crazy about
ridiculous
trafficking human beings is that I think it's one of those things that's so horrible that nobody can really comprehend what we're saying when we say human trafficking. Like, people are being kidnapped and forced into those horrible conditions and they can't get out. They're being held against their will. Like, if that was your family, like, this is crazy that this is even happening. It's unbelievable. But I think the evil of it is just so big. It's like when you hear like X amount of people just died with this certain situation or in a bombing or whatever. And you can't even picture that number of people. Where if they said, 15 people from a local small town just died in a fire. People, you can understand 15 people, but you can't understand big giant numbers, nor can we understand human trafficking and the level that it's going on and the way that people are so unaffected by it. It should be a topic that is all the time being pushed until we can find some real serious ways of stopping it. And certainly New Zealand...
Look at this. Although the government meets the minimum standards, it did not initiate any prosecutions and convicted only 2 traffickers. So they're a tier 1. They're the number 1 destination for sex traffickers in the world. And in 2020, they were able to prosecute 2. So there's that. Unbelievable. I do want to address what Amy Lee says. Do you follow sex for procreation only rule? How does that work? Is flirting like let's go for our own soccer team? No. I don't believe that sex is only. We actually had this conversation before we went on. No, I don't believe that sex is only for procreation. There's an entire book in the Bible, Song of Solomon, and it's all about sex, and it's pretty graphic. And it's all about...
There's nothing about procreation in it.
There's nothing about procreation.
It's literally just about enjoying each other.
No kids are mentioned at all. It's just about... They're just 2 young, hot people who are very descriptive about body parts and things of that nature. And all that. Go read it yourself. Song of Solomon. Go check it out. So, no. Sex is for pleasure. It's definitely for procreation. But it's also for pleasure. It's also for comfort. The scripture says that sexuality can also comfort a man. So Isaac, his mom died, and he was very close to his mother. And then Rebecca, his wife, he gets introduced to his wife because they did arranged marriages. And then he takes her to his tent, and it says, and he lay with her. And then it says, and so Isaac was comforted from the death of his mother. Mm-hmm. So there, sex has a psychologically comforting aspect to it. Song of Solomon has sex as a pleasure. It's more pleasure, romanticism.
And then you have Adam and Eve where it talks about knowing each other.
Right.
So there are different types of, but all of them
Correct.
Are included in Christian sexuality.
That's a very good point. The other aspect of sexuality is knowing the other person. Mm-hmm. And so the first mention of the actual sexual act is the Hebrew word is yada. Adam knew his wife Eve and she conceived a son. Mm-hmm. And as a matter of fact, when the Bible says know the Lord, it's the same Hebrew word. Mm-hmm. So that's for you.
Yeah, and it's also interesting because the previous conversation where you were saying sexuality would be okay, but you wouldn't be good with them sharing anything intellectually.
Right.
Because sexuality is about knowing each other, that is part of it.
Correct. But that instinct that Amy Lee had is the point. Right? Like sexuality is about the completion of the person. I mean, obviously I disagree with her application, but to your point, it's about knowing the person completely. Mm-hmm. So there is that aspect where, so biblically speaking, no, sex is not only for procreation, not at all.
Right.
As a matter of fact, you're commanded to enjoy the breasts of the wife of your youth. Like women don't need breasts to procreate. So, breasts are there. Obviously, there's a function for nourishing a child, but breasts are also there from a biblical perspective for sexual enjoyment of men and women. Mm-hmm. So,
and you said the comfort thing, which is an emotional thing. So, sexuality is healthy sexuality is supposed to encompass all of that, and it can be heavy on one more than the other, on a particular night. But all of that should be included in a range.
Yeah.
I think that's one of the things that's kind of missed because our world is so hypersexualized and pornography is so prominent that this idea of like hot, raunchy, abusive sex is kind of put on the pedestal as like the highest form of like, this is awesome. And so, people are trying to reenact some of that stuff in their marriages. And I think that there's a broad range of stuff that's great for marriages in sexuality, but I think that we can't lose the basis of what it should be. And so there should have that, like, if you've never had that experience where sexuality is emotional, it's about knowing each other, and it's about, what was that third category you gave?
Comfort.
That was
Procreation.
emotional.
Pleasure.
Yeah, and knowing each other. Like, when you have all of those grouped together in a sexual experience, it's the highest sexual experience you'll ever have, and it's way better than any shades of gray or anything like that. Like, it's literally the best. But there's all kinds of different versions, and there's no rules that have to be followed, And I don't want to bring it down to like it's about consent. It's more than that. Like, when you have those things
Look
in there.
Look at this. I'm on the State Department thing. Inconsistent with international law, Section 98D. This is New Zealand. Required a demonstration of deception or coercion to constitute a child sex trafficking offense, and therefore did not criminalize all forms of sex trafficking. This is what happens.
Come on.
This is what happens, man. Ridiculous. All right. I think I've made my point pretty clear. But the point is, to your point, sex is more than just two animals progeniting genetics. Sex is way deeper than that. And we would do well to respect the power of it and respect. This is something guys don't do. And I'm, we all knew this about 8 to 10 years ago. Everybody did the friends with benefits thing. That was a big thing. Friends with benefits. And then I knew that those arrangements were going to quickly die out.
Those arrangements?
I knew it. Listen, I've been around some of the most powerful women on the face of the earth. I'm telling you.
Yeah.
I've been around the things that I've seen these people accomplish. Only Sori, honestly, aside from Sori, the shit that these women were able to pull off is unbelievable. And it didn't matter. People were doing the whole friends with benefits thing, blah, blah, blah. And literally, I had 7 cases. 4 of them were domestic. 3 of them were, they were kind of domestic, but everybody's going overseas. And 100% of the time, it was always the girl that said, I can't do this anymore. 100% of the time. The guy, hey, now it's only 7 people. I'm sure that it worked the other way. But the friends with benefits thing died out because it's impossible. Mm-hmm. Because more is happening than just bodies, ramming into each other. More is happening there. And if you want to pretend that more isn't happening, that's fine. Go for it. All right. We have another, what's the name of that band? Motionless in White song.
No, it's not. It's Imminence.
Oh.
Paralyzed.
For chat.
Live in the studio.
Okay, talk to the people because I haven't even downloaded that.
Okay.
Because I got stuck with Ben's misogynistic
there
nonsense.
You go, you crazy people. I'm coming back to the chat.
Imminence Paralyzed.
Yeah,
huh?
But it's the live, so if you just click on the Trello, where is it? We'll get into Trello, right there. Get in there so he can get his actual link.
Okay.
The sexualization of literally everything has warped my mind, dude. Oh, Delaney O'Connell. That's true. And if you're on Facebook, there's something called Fight the New Drug. It's a site, and they have like a lot of great information, and I think like a lot of restorative stuff of how you can kind of get your mind to a better place, because they really like honestly talk about the deceptions or like the downside of pornography and how our environment has.
We want to eat the burger, right? But you don't want to know how the pigs are slaughtered. So if you go to that site, and I'm going to actually post the site for everybody, you can also see from the girls themselves the experience that these A-list millionaire, and those are rare, by the way. These A-list millionaire porn stars, they'll tell you what they went through in that industry.
It's terrible.
So anyway, there's Fight the New Drug. Stop the demand. Stop exploitation. It's something that we're real believers in. Mm-hmm. You guys know how we are with abortion, and this is another one of those issues.
Goth mom. Put on the air. Sorry, this is awful to watch. If we put on the air conditioner, it's gonna mess up the video. It'll be too noisy.
Okay. So, Seven Dusted is back. He's back in the sandbox. Holy shit, Dusted. I get it, bro. I get it. You grinding from your family.
I know, Seven Dusted.
Delaney, well, I agree. God does love gay people to death. 3.
But Paul wasn't gay. Just.
I don't know if Paul was gay or not. I don't know how you could possibly know that. How could you know that Paul wasn't gay?
That's a good point.
Some people speculate that was a thorn in his flesh. I don't think there's enough lexical evidence for that. But, he's a man and he's single all his life, so, the whole Catholic priest stereotype comes in. I think to death probably thought that would offend me or something like that.
I guess the reason why I felt like...
me at all.
I think the reason I thought that he wasn't was because of the way he talked about marriage. Like, it was... Like, why take the time? And you know what I mean? Like, to me, it seemed like it wasn't like, well, I would, but I'm just not attracted to women. It just seemed like, well, these are just impediments.
Yeah, he's inspired by the Holy Spirit, right? So, all right.
Yeah. We'll talk about that later because I don't understand what that has to do with it.
Neil, I don't know what kind of burgers Ben is eating if they're made from pork. Good catch, Neil. I didn't think anybody was going to get that. I said nobody wants to see how the pig gets slaughtered, but we all want to eat the burger.
Oh.
It's a pork burger, bitch. That was a good catch, though. I love when people catch stuff, subtle flaws like that. I love that shit. Because I like being as precise as possible. Now, look, Sori's doing the white woman in distress thing. All of you guys are like, put on the AC. I have no pity for her whatsoever. This girl said she was going to be a missionary. So I don't have any pity for her at all.
I'm actually taking a medicine right now that raises my internal temperature, and it's not very fun.
If God exists, I'm not going to say what that guy said, but it is funny. And I don't think God hates you, bro. I don't think God hates you. I don't think God hates you at all. You must be German. Okay. Sori, go put on the AC. You've sufficiently waved your white woman in distress thing. Oh, it's so annoying.
I know.
Oh my God.
It used to actually make me feel so sad when you would say that was so annoying, how I wanted to be in the cool. It doesn't anymore. Now I don't care. I'm like...
Thank God.
You know what?
We can actually relate to each other better now.
You can be annoyed by that, and I can be annoyed by the fact that you don't take care of me and turn this on an hour before I come in here, knowing how I feel about it.
It was on an hour before.
No, it wasn't. You told me to turn it off.
Yeah. How could I turn it off if it wasn't on?
It ran for 10 minutes. That's not running for an hour.
You just jank Ubered yourself.
That's not running for an hour.
Sorry.
Running for 10 minutes is not running for an hour. It needs the time to cool down. Some people, when they talk, it changes the temperature in the room. It's very warm.
Oh my goodness. Oh, about the precision, I see. You know what they say about Germans? They know how to laugh, they just don't know when to laugh. Yeah.
Okay, so somebody asked when you think sex is a sin.
Huh?
There's an echo?
It's probably because of that AC. We didn't have any echo until that AC unit got turned on.
It's facts. And they're echoing.
Yep, there's an echo now. Everybody's saying there's an echo.
Okay, wait, what if I do this?
Did you do something different with the thing?
No, I didn't do anything different. I just turned on the... See if that helps.
You still have it on this thing right here?
I turned it off. I just turned my mic off.
Echo chamber. Oh, that's a smart one. Echo chamber. Get it? Echo chamber. I gotta check. I gotta see.
They're saying it's no echo now. It's gone.
There's no echo on mine.
But
I'm listening to it right now.
Off. Okay, hold on. Now I'm gonna turn mine on. Hello? Am I echoing? Is this like... The microphone is saying you cannot have the AC. Oh my word.
No, there's an echo now. There's a mega echo now. Put on your headphones, you'll see. Mega echo.
Why? That's so weird. Why?
Bricktown is like, oh, there's a little echo. Are you kidding me?
Okay, I just turned my microphone off. No, I turned it off and it's still echoing.
Well, hold on. That's an old one. remember there's a delay. So this next one here is going to be the win.
I just said I turned my microphone off.
Hold on. Let me see. Because I can't even hear myself at all. Oh, that's mine now. Turn off the AC.
This is so weird.
That's what you get.
Okay, is it fixed? The air conditioner's off now.
Check 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Just talking to a fan.
No, so it's not the air conditioner? Wait.
I think as soon as I turned off the AC, it's still echoing.
No, it's something else. Okay, so it's not the air conditioner.
Did you change something?
I didn't touch anything.
Mute your thing real quick.
Yeah, mine is muted.
Testing. Hold on. Testing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh, you know what? You know what?
What?
No, turn that back off. Turn it back off. Check, 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 check. No, the mics are not picking each other up. We're testing good right now. Check, 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 check. All right, so when this next iteration of testing 1, 2. Are we in a mic loop, guys? Talk to me. How's it sounding now? You screwed up, babe. We had it perfect, and then you did that.
No, you go clicking a whole bunch of stuff.
I think we're in good shape.
I'm going to get some water.
I think we're in good shape. Yep. Okay, so that's it. You can't have the AC on. Okay, so Sori is going back. Believers will try to retcon the Trinity into the Genesis text to hand wave the obvious polytheistic theme. Or Vlad, you can read some Michael Heiser and or some Alan Siegel and see that there is a way to have hypostasis without having multiple beings in the Old Testament, seeing as how the book of Genesis presents the angel of Yahweh as being Yahweh himself. The same thing happens in Exodus, where Yahweh meets Moses at the burning bush, but it says the angel of the Lord, the angel of Yahweh, called out to Moses from the bush. So when God does a dramatic reveal of his name, the person that was speaking to Moses was actually the angel, the messenger of Yahweh, even though he is called Yahweh interchangeably in the text itself, which is why during the intertestamental period, Vlad, that they came up with the doctrine of the two powers, because there were multiple instances in the Old Testaments where there was a multiplicity within the Godhead, even though Deuteronomy 6, the Shema, was decidedly monotheistic, right? And then, of course, there's a discussion between the word choices of oneness in Genesis, etc., etc. So, no, Vlad, henotheism is an actual thing, Vlad. So if you want to be accurate, Michael Heiser is not a polytheist. He's a henotheist, because he believes in a singular most high deity, and that the other deities are created deities from the most high deity. So that's called henotheism. That's not polytheism. There's a clear ontological break in Heiser's theology, as well as the Old Testament theology, between the other gods and Yahweh himself. The gods are afraid of Yahweh. Yahweh punishes the other gods. The other gods never punish Yahweh, not once. That's because he made them, and there is an eternal ontological separation between Yahweh and the B'nai Elohim in Psalm 82, for example. So please be as accurate as you can when you're speaking about a belief system that you don't hold to. Okay? All right. Can turn on your mic. Let's see if it works.
Oh, hello? Please.
You know what you need to do? Actually,
Please, Lord, be kind.
Yeah.
Let this AC keep running while we...
Screw with our quality. Nope.
No!
It's a freaking AC. Do what you want. I don't care. I mean, if you need the AC on, we'll just share my mic, whatever. But whatever.
Why is it doing that? What would that have anything to do with the AC? Okay.
No Vlad. No Vlad. No Vlad. No. I've talked to Michael Heiser. He believes in a single being that is the Most High. The other gods or the other Elohim are created beings that are temporal and depend on him for their existence. The fact that they're called gods is you importing a Western English understanding of the term God and not adopting an ancient Near Eastern Hebrew understanding of the term Elohim. And that's where you're getting tripped up, and that's why you're making all of these erroneous statements. I don't believe you're saying these things on purpose to be deceptive. You just don't know what you're talking about.
Okay, is this it? Is it working now?
I'll check.
Are we looping?
I'll check.
Oh, they're saying there's still an echo.
Well, I mean, it takes time. Wait. Yeah, it's kind of echoey again.
It is definitely echoey again. And the
Wasting
AC
a lot of time
running.
over this AC.
No, even Amy Lee Forever, I noticed you post all of her stuff when it suits you. But she said it's not the AC. So you should have posted that.
Unbelievable.
Thank you, Amy.
As Perkinath said, exactly, Vin, one can still believe in multiple divine beings and be a monotheist if you believe there's a single transcendent perfect self.
It's more noticeable when Vin speaks.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Hello.
Yeah, and
Testing. 1, 2, 3.
Vlad, how about you just come on and we can have this conversation instead of doing this? Here, Vlad, just come on and then we'll have a discussion, okay? Because words have meanings, right? So there's a reason there's another category of theology called henotheism. And the reason for that is because it's a different kind of monotheism. But yeah, I mean, come on and let's have the discussion, because it appears to me that you believe that you're educated on the topic. So let's have a discussion about it. Here's a link. You can come on. We'll have a conversation. Yeah, I mean, we could try to switch mics. Let's try to switch mics. Maybe so you can still have your Western comfort and all the rest of it. So I'll put the mic on. And we'll,
how does this sound?
We'll try to make it work that way.
Testing 1, 2, 3. When I was a teenager and we had to do like different things on the stage and we had to say testing 1, 2, 3, I was so embarrassed. Can you turn that mic off? I know, turn that one off. Vin really believes it's the...
Okay. What do you mean I really believe it? We saw it happen. When the AC was off, we were fine. When it wasn't, it wasn't.
We keep turning on the AC at the same time we turn that mic on.
Okay. Just tell me what you want to do, because we're wasting time here.
Okay, keep it on and I'm going to turn the AC on. See if it stops. Okay. The AC is off. It's true, Vin should rap with the echo on. See? It's still echoing.
Is there a button sensitivity on mic Sori now has? No. Here.
But it's still echoing, so it's not the AC.
Just tell me what you want to do. Just tell me when you want to go and we'll go. The reason there's an echo now is because we have this on, Soraya. Okay? There won't be any echo anymore because we're listening to this thing at the same time. But what happened was we had the videos off, and then we turned on the AC, and the echo started again. So then we had to go and pull up the site itself to hear what other people were hearing. Look, let's just do... I was going to do a lot longer. We'll do one more song. You can go. Then we're going to do Middle America with Dory and Johan.
No, it's okay. I keep going. I keep going.
Well, I mean, let's just do one more song because we're literally at an hour and a half now between songs. So let's just do one more song, and then we'll be good to go.
You guys, is the echo off now?
Holy moly. Vlad, let's do this. Vlad, give us a definition of henotheism. What is henotheism? They're saying it sounds good now.
Weird. Okay.
It's not weird. It makes a lot of sense. Holy Moloch!
It doesn't make sense to me that the AC would affect the microphone, but nonetheless. All right, ready?
Well, so let me just
this is something that should be hammered out and settled off stream.
We need one thingamajig. Check. Do you understand what's happening? So this thing is on. So we're listening to it live because I want to hear what we sound like. But in order for that to happen, we've got to pull this up. So now this mic is picking up this.
Okay, so why don't we listen from this one instead?
What we need to do is get a pair of headphones. Give me the headphones because your thing actually has headphones where you can actually listen to what's being done at the same time. So listen in there and see if there's an echo.
I think. Hello? I mean, I don't hear any echo right now, just in my mic alone.
So do you hear an echo or do you hear your mic?
No, I only hear my mic, but that's all. But I'm not going to hear the software issue or any other issue that would be going on. I'm literally just hearing what it sounds like when I talk in my mic.
Right, but do you hear it being echoey?
Nope.
Okay.
No echo.
Okay.
They're saying you have an echo, though. So, like I said, I wouldn't hear that on my doing this. But I could do it from this computer.
Actually,
Then I would be able to hear.
I also have a jack.
There's definitely an echo.
Hello, friends. Can you hear me now? All right, guys. I am going to call it. Now, Sori's echoey. I'm going to call it, and we'll hit you guys up later. Vin out.